see joys and sorrows expressed in the faces of nature. Can we believe what we see? Does a dog smile with happiness? Does an elephant cry out in grief? Because no one could measure feelings, it's been a scientific crime to attribute human emotions to other animals. But new technologies of brain imaging and genetic testing, coupled with observations of animals who are learning a human language, finally offer us a glimpse into the hearts and minds of our fellow beings. What we see is hauntingly familiar. From fear to compassion, from mother love to heartache. Scientists, researchers, and documentary filmmakers, the people who spend the most time among animals, take us on an unprecedented journey into emotional realms that were thought to be exclusively human. It seems, however, we may not be alone. We've never been able to ask animals what they're feeling. The greatest obstacle to communication has been the lack of a common language. Even efforts to teach our next of kin to speak have all failed because no other animal has vocal cords like ours. But chimpanzees do have hands, marvelously expressive hands. In 1966, researchers began one of the most important cross-species experiments ever undertaken. Psychologists Alan and Beatrix Gardner began teaching a young chimpanzee named Washoe how to speak in American Sign Language. Just 1 year into the experiment, a young graduate student, Roger Fouts, began working with Washoe. He's still working with her.
Right now, her vocabulary is over 200. And that sounds small, but what you've got to realize is that American Sign Language is a highly inflected language. And so one sign can have a great many meanings by changing its inflection. And the chimps do inflect their signs based on the emotion, what they're feeling, whether it's really important or not.
4 of the 5 chimpanzees in this family learned sign language from the Gardners and their students in their initial experiments. But Washoe's adopted son, Lulis, has learned it from his mother. A chimp has taught another chimp to sign.
What color's that? It's white! Yes, yes.
For the first time, we share a common language with another species, allowing a breakthrough dialogue between us and a glimpse into their hearts.
With our guys, they will tell us what they feel. But just as I'll tell you, I'm happy, they can tell you, I'm happy. They can tell you they're sad. They can ask you for a hug. They can comfort you. And so with these guys, with Washoe and her family, they're some of the first non-humans that can actually use a human language to tell us about some of their emotions. Ladies, you want to give me some food? Hey. You want to share? Want to feed me? You want to give me some food?
This interspecies conversation is a continuing one. As the chimpanzees keep sharing their feelings, it becomes more difficult to deny them.
When it comes to attributing emotion to animals, we have a great deal of trouble with that as human beings. You know, we like to see ourselves above all this animal herd stuff. And the idea that other creatures could share these extraordinary feelings that we have, it just is very difficult for us to understand. I think that the idea that other mammals do not have emotions is a far more alien idea to me than the idea that they do.
All animals, warm-blooded or cold, share the same basic emotional toolkit: fear, aggression, and the urge to procreate. These are not sentimental luxuries. They are the basis of survival.
When it comes to survival, emotion is probably, surprisingly enough, even more important than intellect. If you hear a loud noise, you will immediately startle and become on guard. No thinking about that is necessary. It's just immediate. That is emotion at work.
I can answer questions about animal emotions from my own personal experiences, and those have been very powerful across the board, really, starting with some of the invertebrates, the mollusks, and ending with killer whales.
Emotions are every bit as vital to the survival of sea creatures as to those on land. Filmmaker Mike Degree has spent most of the past 20 years exploring the ocean realm with some surprisingly emotional animals.
The emotion that I have felt with invertebrates has been every bit as powerful, especially the cephalopods, squid and octopus. I get very emotional in the water dealing with an octopus on this level, so I think that it works back and forth. When I'm feeling emotional, I'm feeling emotion is coming back.
Emotions in an octopus are probably similar to emotions in people. We turn pale when we're scared. We turn bright red in the face when we're angry. And we believe that's similar to what an octopus does, except that it changes the color of its whole skin all over its body.
You can come up to an octopus and it will suddenly change color. It'll blanch white, just pure white. And then if they ink, then generally you've really scared them. Now what does that mean?
We think that bright red is connected with anger or with frustration, and we think that white or pale is probably connected with fear. Emotions might help an octopus survive by giving an octopus a reason to flee an enemy. If an octopus has fear, fear can cause the octopus to escape so that it's not eaten by a bigger animal.
Fear is universal. Because obviously the problem with not being afraid of something is that you place yourself in danger. So fear is the most fundamental emotion, I think.
Animals express fear in very similar ways. Brain scans reveal that monkey and human brains display an identical pattern of electrical activity when experiencing fear. This is rooted in the common origins of our brains. The brain evolved in layers, like an onion. At the core of every human mind lurks what's called the reptilian brain, ancient circuitry from a distant past when reptiles ruled the world.
In the reptilian brain are really all the basic systems of survival. The ability to recognize fear, aggression, basic safety is written into the reptilian brain.
In the age of dinosaurs, there was a single, largely tropical supercontinent now known as Pangaea. For reptiles, it was a paradise where stealth and size could usually win the day. Emotional subtlety was not required. But no Eden lasts forever. The giant continent began to rupture and oceans grew between the fractured lands. One continent became 7, each one different. The climate changed, sometimes drastically. Animals either adapted or faced extinction. Yet in change lay opportunity. The reptiles' 150 million year dominion was now threatened by unexpected competition. Mammals, although generally weaker and smaller, now had a distinct advantage. They were built to learn. They could adapt their behavior to the changing environment. It wasn't better jaws that won out. It was a better brain.
What happens when the mammals come along is that they have a much greater ability to learn, and they live in social groups. This is totally distinct from the old reptilian behaviors, and it's this learning from each other and this ability to teach the young that creates the power of the mammalian enterprise.
In the mammalian brain, evolution had produced one of nature's most powerful survival tools: maternal love.
There's an extraordinary contrast, of course, between the way in which a reptilian mother and a mammalian mother mother their children. In fact, if one's a reptile, it's a good thing to get out of mother's way, because you never know, in a fit of pique, she might just eat you. Not good.
Under the watchful, caring eye of a mammalian mother, a child can learn. This is an advantage so critical to survival that the emotions that bond a mother to her child are among the strongest in nature.
The most fundamental behavior that everybody recognizes, which is mammalian, is motherhood. The mother is attached to the child. They communicate with each other through emotional expression. In fact, the child learns everything from the mother's face, one might say, in the first few weeks of life, and monitors the mother's face constantly in order to learn whether things are safe or dangerous. This relationship between mother and child is necessary because it takes the child a long time to learn about the world. Mammals are not pre-programmed. They must learn about the world. They learn extraordinarily quickly and extraordinarily well, which in the long run makes us the most successful animals on Earth. But initially, they're virtually helpless. That's why mothers were invented.
Mothers and parents not only provide nurturance from the standpoint of things that taste good and feel good and that make us grow, but they also provide us, I'll use the word guidance, and that guidance has to do with keeping our noses out of things that can get us into trouble. Those are the times when our mothers or our parents are very good at letting us